In this video, I'm going to talk you through, give you a quick reminder of how to expose a screen. We're going to use this exposure unit. It's a self-contained exposure unit, so it means it's got a lid, and the screen that you made earlier is in the dryer, ready to go. So first off, I'm going to talk you through what this machine does. It's basically a big empty box, really, and inside is an ultraviolet tube. So behind that little hole there's a box that opens and the ultraviolet light exposes your screen. Most students working here use paper as their hard copy because it's cheap. If you're doing a high contrast image, it works fine. All you need to make sure is that you've printed onto 80-gram copier paper, the standard stuff that's in all the copiers, nothing too thick. And that it's been done on a copier or a laserjet printer and not an inkjet. Because what you want it to do is to stop the light coming through. So that's the back, and if I hold it up to the light, you can see the light can't get through there. Because the black areas really are black. If your hard copy's grey, the light's going to get through and it won't work properly. So at this point, it's just worth looking at the hard copy in your hand, making sure it's on the right paper and that the black areas are actually black. Because what's going to happen, the screen that we coated up is dry, ready to go, and we're going to expose the light. When the light passes through the paper, it will just go straight through the paper, but the black areas, the light won't be able to get through. And those parts of the screen will remain unexposed, and later on we'll wash that out, and that's what creates your stencil. So it's a really simple photographic process. Okay, so this machine, before you come to use it, there's normally glass cleaner just to the side. I recommend just giving it a quick clean. If everybody that comes along and uses it gives it a little clean, it stays really beautiful and clean all day long. So I recommend before and after use, just give it a wipe over. Be aware that on the outside there's an area from there to there, both sides, where the light isn't as strong. So as the light leaves, it travels up. This middle bit works fine, but the outside areas avoid using. That's why it says do not use. So put your artwork in the middle. It's possible to do two A3 screens at the same time or a big A1 screen, but try and aim your artwork above the light source. Make sure it's the right way up. Don't put it on face down. And it doesn't need to be an invert or a negative. What you see is what you'll get. At that point, you're ready to go. The machine's switched on, everything's warmed up. This machine is switched on at 9 in the morning till 5 at night, Monday to Friday. And the other thing to check is the safe system of work. If you're not familiar with the machine, you've not used it for a while, I recommend just reading through that to familiarise yourself. And I'll show you the bullet points on the wall in a minute. So you're ready to go. So your screen's over here that you coated earlier. Just check it's dry. Check any thick bits that aren't not too sticky. Ready to go. There's UV light everywhere in this room, so if you walk around with the screen for too long, the light in the room will expose it. So you don't want to hang around at this point. You want to put the screen straight onto your artwork. And the screen goes that way up, not the other way. It's got to go that way up because you want the screen to be in direct contact with the artwork. And get the artwork in the middle. Avoid exposing artwork near the edge and avoid doing it at angles. Try and get it nice and straight and nice and in the middle. At that point, shut the lid. There's a clip there, and another clip there. The lid is made of neoprene, and if you turn on the vacuum, There's that switch there. You can see that the air has been removed and the screen is being pressed down onto the artwork in good contact. Okay. Things to check now is the digital counter there. If you're exposing paper, that needs to say 130. If you're making solar plates or you're exposing acetate or drafting film onto screen, you will need to adjust this counter. So I'll just press that and show you what happens. So just check that they're set properly. Once you're happy with that, move across here and press the start button. And you'll notice that's beginning to count down. They're light units, but they're roughly 1 a second when the bulb's in good condition, so that's going to take about 1.5 minutes. I recommend staying with the exposed unit when you're operating it, and that prevents anyone else coming along and accidentally opening it thinking that no one's using it. Ultraviolet light is dangerous, but this machine has got a lid. The lid is neoprene, same as wetsuits, and it's closed, so it's safe to stand here. Also, on the side here is a safety device, so if anybody did open the lid, that would just switch the power off and you wouldn't get exposed to ultraviolet light. So it's safe to stand here when you're operating it. I'm just going to take you over here and show you on the wall. We also have the bullet points of what I'm covering at the moment, and I recommend, even if you've had an induction, just if you're not familiar with all of this, just reading through it and just double checking that you're happy with everything. So this is counting down, and it counts down pretty quickly. I'm just going to hold that there and we'll forward through this part of the video. As you'll see, this, as it finishes, that goes back to 130, and the green light has gone over to the red light. There's only one button you need to press, and that's the vacuum, and you'll see that lid start to relax and let go. You just need to undo the 2 clips and you're ready then to wash off and create your stencil. I'm just going to stick this on my head. Okay. You may be able to see that the screen has changed colour. Before it was green and now it's kind of blue, which kind of lets you know that the exposure has happened. You can make out the artwork on there, but you don't want to be hanging around with the screen again in daylight because it's still light sensitive. So you want to go through here. Before you go through the door, you need to put on some hearing protection because it is loud through there, and it's mandatory that you put on some over here protection. So shove them on, get your screen and go through the door, and then turn right and right again, and you're now at the stencil wash-off booth. This is a garden hose with a tap. First thing you do is just wet both sides of the screen gently. And then just wash off with all the full water pressure. So turn the tap on all the way. That's your stencil. It's pretty quick. If your artwork was black, it will wash off as quick as that. If it doesn't wash off quickly, it may have meant that your artwork was grey and not black. It should happen almost instantly. If nothing happens at all, it probably means that your screen has been exposed to ultraviolet light and it's all been exposed. You just need to start again. So you can come back out here, you can take those off, hang them up, and then hold your screen up to light and just have a look through it, because what you see through is what the ink goes through. It's what you're going to print, which looks good to me. Before I put it in the dryer, what I always do is tape the edges. So here we've got parcel tape hanging on the wall. That side of it is glued. There's usually water spray here, and just wet the glued side. And what you want to do is just cover the gap, and that will stop the ink leaking out when you're printing and make everything nice and clean, so you're not kind of contaminating everything with ink. You go all the way round. Get the tape nice and wet so it's all stuck down, and that is ready to go. So all you've got to do now is dry it. Before we use the top dryer for an unexposed screen, this time it's the bottom dryer because this screen's wet. So get your screen, put it in there. While that's drying, you can be preparing your ink, getting your paper ready. 5 minutes time, you're going to be ready to print.